In the heart of Siberia lies a vast, remote wilderness known as the taiga. It's a land of immense forests, winding rivers, and a profound, ancient silence. Our story begins here on the morning of June 30th, 1908. For the local Evenki people, nomadic reindeer herders, it was a day like any other. The air was calm, the sky a brilliant, cloudless blue. But in the final moments of peace, some of the herds grew restless, their instincts sensing something deeply wrong. At approximately 7:17 a.m. local time, that fragile peace was irrevocably shattered. A colossal pillar of blue-white light, brighter than the sun, ripped across the sky. For a fleeting moment, there was an unnatural, silent awe. Then, the world erupted. A colossal explosion, unlike anything in recorded human history, detonated high in the atmosphere. The force was apocalyptic. It was over 1,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. This was the Tunguska Event. The explosion generated a shockwave that radiated outwards with unimaginable fury. An estimated 80 million trees, across 2,150 square kilometers, were flattened in an instant. An area larger than modern-day London was scorched and utterly devastated. For those unfortunate enough to be near the epicenter, there was no escape. Hundreds of miles away, at the Trans-Siberian Railway station in Kansk, the train operator felt the ground shake so violently he thought his train had derailed. Eyewitnesses in settlements over 60 kilometers away described a wave of scorching heat. S.B. Semenov, a farmer, recalled a moment where he felt his shirt was on fire. He was knocked unconscious by the blast wave. When he awoke, he saw that his crops were flattened and the forest in the distance was ablaze. The sound was equally terrifying. A succession of deafening roars, like artillery fire, echoed across the land, heard up to 1,000 kilometers away. The event's strangeness didn't end with the explosion. In the days that followed, a bizarre and beautiful phenomenon graced the night skies across the globe. From the fields of France to the streets of London, the sky refused to get dark. An eerie, silvery luminescence lingered long after sunset. People reported being able to read a book outside at midnight. This night glow was caused by a massive cloud of dust and ice crystals thrown high into the mesosphere, reflecting sunlight. The world knew a major event had occurred, but its origin and precise location remained a mystery. News traveled slowly, and the Russian Empire was on the brink of immense political turmoil. World War I, the Russian Revolution, and civil war followed, pushing the strange Siberian explosion into the background. The taiga kept its secret locked away. It wasn't until 19 years later, in 1927, that the first scientific expedition, funded by the new Soviet government, finally reached the isolated region. It was led by Leonid Kulik, a mineralogist who had become obsessed with the stories. He was convinced he would find a massive meteorite, a prize for Soviet science. Kulik's journey was an ordeal. He and his team battled harsh terrain, dense forests, and swarms of insects for weeks to get close to the suspected impact zone. When they finally arrived, what they found was not what they expected. It was far, far stranger. A vast, silent graveyard of trees stretched before them. The pattern of destruction was bizarre. The trees were felled radially outwards from a central point, like the spokes of a titanic wheel. But at the very center, in the area they dubbed the telegraph poles, a scattering of trees remained standing, though stripped of their branches and bark. This suggested the blast had come from directly above. But the biggest puzzle of all was what wasn't there. There was no impact crater. Not even a small one. Kulik spent years searching, draining bogs and digging pits, convinced a meteorite was buried beneath the swamp. But he found nothing. No fragments, no cosmic debris. How could an explosion powerful enough to flatten a city-sized area of forest leave no physical trace of the object? that caused it. This was the central mystery of Tunguska. Decades of research have led scientists to a consensus theory. The Tunguska object wasn't a solid iron giant, but a stony asteroid or a small icy comet. They believe it didn't strike the ground. Instead, it plunged through the atmosphere at immense speed, and the incredible pressure and heat caused it to catastrophically disintegrate in mid-air. This event, known as an airburst, would have unleashed all its energy 5 to 10 kilometers above the surface, creating the devastating downward shockwave without a crater. The telegraph pole. Trees at the center were standing because the blast wave came from directly above them, pushing straight down, merely stripping them bare. This airburst theory is strongly supported by a more recent event, the 2013 Chelyabinsk meteor in Russia, which was captured on thousands of dashcams. The Chelyabinsk object also created a massive airburst, shattering windows and injuring hundreds with its shockwave, but leaving only tiny fragments behind. Scientists studying Tunguska have found microscopic silicate and magnetite spherules embedded in the soil and tree resin, which contain metals consistent with stony meteorites. Yet the evidence isn't a perfect slam dunk. The distribution of these particles is patchy, and some argue the object should have been an icy comet to explain the lack of larger fragments, as an icy body would have almost completely vaporized. This lingering uncertainty has created fertile ground for more exotic theories to take root. Could it have been a piece of antimatter striking the atmosphere, resulting in total annihilation? This would explain the energy and lack of fragments, but not the lack of detected gamma radiation. Another proposal involves a microscopic black hole passing straight through the Earth, but this fails to account for the lack of an exit wound on the other side of the planet. But perhaps the most famous fringe theory is that the event was technological. In 1946, science fiction writer Alexander Kazantsev proposed that the explosion was caused by the nuclear reactor of an alien spacecraft exploding. This idea captivated the public imagination. A controlled descent, a catastrophic engine failure, the story writes itself. Despite a complete lack of any technological debris or credible evidence, the alien spacecraft theory remains a popular fixture in science fiction and ufology. So, where does that leave us today? Modern science has brought new tools to bear on this century-old mystery. Researchers analyze peat bogs and lake sediments, which hold a year-by-year record of atmospheric fallout, searching for isotopic anomalies. The trees that survived are also telling their stories through their rings and chemical composition. Advanced computer simulations now allow us to model different scenarios, which strongly favor the airburst of a stony asteroid. But the final, definitive proof, a smoking gun fragment, remains elusive. The Tunguska event did more than just flatten a forest. It awakened humanity to the threat of a cosmic impact. It is a stark reminder that we live in a cosmic shooting gallery, and events like this are not a matter of if, but when. Today, programs like NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office actively scan the skies, developing strategies to deflect a potential impactor. In a very real way, the silent, ghostly trees of Tunguska are the reason we are now looking to the stars not just with wonder, but with vigilance. The mystery endures. Over a century of searching has brought us closer to the truth. But the Taiga has not yet given up all its secrets. It was a cosmic visitor that vanished in a flash of light, leaving behind only questions, and a profound warning written across the face of the Earth. What do you believe happened on that fateful morning in 1908? A comet, an asteroid, or something else entirely? Share your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, please hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the unknown. Thanks for watching.